Welcome back to Just You and Me. I'm Donna.
I am Adam. Loving the outfit today. Loving what you got going there, Donna.
Well, I'm
Yes.
representing this amazing company actually. They reached out to me. They should send you and your family some sweaters too. So
Yes.
they reached out to me on Instagram. They're called Shalom Good Vibes.
Okay.
And they sent me three sweaters, three colors, but my boys stole the blue and the green. I believe I got blue or gray. I can't remember. And I, of course, stole the purple because Daily Joseph Donna is purple. That's kind of like my signature color. And I was like, this is perfect. And I love this sweater. It's oversized, it's comfy, and I wear it all the time because it's got like a hint of Jewishness, but it's not over the top. And it says shalom with a happy face. I mean, come at me, bro. Come
Okay.
at me with your anti-Semitism, bro.
There we go. Yes, the attitude, the
Monday morning.
vicious attitude, the vicious Monday morning attitude. It was so the sweatshirts, the other sweatshirts you have, is it all they all say shalom on them?
They all say shalom. I'm pretty sure this is kind of like what their brand only does is it says
Got it.
shalom. And I don't know, I'm sure they have other clothing pieces, but yeah, they're so sweet. They reached out to me and so, but I really truly like the sweater. Like it's not that I wear it just because they sent it to me. I actually really enjoy it. But I wear it. I wear it like to the gym. I wear it wherever, and people always are like shalom. Like it actually does give people a reason to reach out to me and say, shalom.
Shalom.
Yeah, it's actually kind of funny. Yesterday, I I took my mom. So the bar mitzvah's on Saturday, and it's
Yeah,
Monday
oh,
right
I
now.
know.
So we're 5 days out, and my mom just got back from Israel on Thursday.
Good.
So
She's not missing the bar mitzvah to be in Israel. That's good.
she was thinking about it.
Mm.
So she tells me, Dana, I don't have a dress. What am I going to do? And she's always like, I gained weight. I ate so much of the food in Israel. And right before she was in Israel, she calls it a sale. I'm like, you went on a cruise. Like, I went
I'm
on a
so
sale. I was on a sale. She was like
love
in
that.
Europe. They went from France to, a little bit of a European. It wasn't like a massive cruise. It was one of those like mini, you know, um,
Like a river cruise?
like one of those, like a
How you doing?
super, sorry, like a super yachts, like but like a
Yeah,
large,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
probably, I would say probably a few thousand people, like not like a Carnival Royal
Your
Caribbean
mom's,
size.
it's fine. Your mom's a yacht girl. You can just say it. It's all
She is
good.
definitely not a below deck yacht woman.
Okay.
By any means,
Mm.
we're not financially in that category. We're traveling with the Kris Jenners and Jeff Bezoses of the world. But she's in her 70s. She's not on on a Carnival cruise to Ixtapa. But she is she was traveling, she was doing a cruise line, whatever, and she was like, on the sale, they give you so much food. What are you gonna do? It's impossible for your eyes. You cannot say no. It's so hard.
That's
You know
true.
me. I eat so healthy, but it's so much chocolate. So anyway, she was eating all the food. So she says, let's go buy me something to wear for the bar mitzvah. So yesterday we went to the mall and we
Okay.
went to Macy's and then Bloomingdale's, and this was the best. So we go to Bloomingdale's, we finally find her little outfit, and we're checking out, and it's this super, super flamboyant gay man who's checking us out. Nice guy, really nice guy. But you can just tell, and maybe this is totally me projecting, but you can just tell with the people that you interact with. You're like, I know how you feel if you
Yeah.
were to put yourself on the spectrum of Israel, feelings about Israel, or like if I had to like look at your TikTok algorithm,
Yeah.
my guess is that you probably would not be on our side of history, right? So he was very nice to us, very. But I wear my Magen David every day, and like I swear it's here. It's just like twisted somewhere.
There it is. I
And
see it.
I wear it, and I didn't notice him like staring at it or anything, but he was like, so, he was British actually. And he was like, so, you buying this for a very special occasion? And I was like, yes, actually. It's my son's bar mitzvah. And he
Yeah.
goes, oh. And I said, yes. And he goes, that's nice. And he was actually really friendly. And I said, yes, actually. And I said, do you know what a bar mitzvah is?
What is this, in
And he goes,
Sherman Oaks?
it was in Sherman Oaks, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like shouldn't he know what a bar mitzvah is? Just being
Yeah,
surrounded by this many Jews.
yeah, but I was just getting into conversation with him. And he's like, yeah, well, I've never been to one, but I've heard about it. And then he said, well, congratulations on the bar mitzvah. And I said, you should say Mazel Tov. And he goes, Mazel Tov. And I was like, I walked away and I said, but we were friendly with him and he was super friendly back. And I said to my mom, I said, he was just dying through that conversation. He probably was like, I had to fucking say Mazel Tov.
Well, yeah, then he probably went home and then went on Reddit
Or he
and
created a TikTok.
one of the two.
I was
Like, one of the two.
indoctrinated today.
I mean, I was on Reddit yesterday. I'm trying to remember what it was, what subreddit it was, but they were talking about Encino and how many Zionists live in Encino.
You mean Jews?
Yeah, listen,
Zionists? Like this
they
whole
want to
Zionist thing is so
I
weird.
know because there is a pretty healthy Israeli population in Encino. There's a lot of Israeli restaurants and kosher restaurants along Ventura Boulevard and like this.
Yeah, it's like a little Israel, basically.
Right, and it's just so like, just say it. Just say that there's so many Jews, and don't say there's so many Zionists, because that's the problem in your head, is that there's just too many of us hanging around.
Or just say Israelis.
Whatever it was, they said the word Zionists everywhere. I'm like,
Do you remember, Adam, when the word Zionist came to play in your life? Because I don't remember ever using the word Zionist on a regular basis in my life before October 7th.
No, I never. Well, maybe here and there I've heard that word and I've used it, not use it as like saying, "Oh, I'm a proud Zionist," because I never had to say it, but I'd heard it before and it never had, at least to me, a negative connotation. Nobody ever said it was a negative thing. It was just Zionist. It was like, okay, that's it. And then now,
yeah, it's so interesting. It's like I almost want to reverse time to think about how I ever approached that word before. Because obviously you're right. Like I had heard the word, but I never focused on the word the way it's focused on the way it is now. Like it's become a huge word in the English language. I never thought twice about that word.
Right. And then the way they manipulate it into Zio or Zionazi or
It's
anything.
wild.
It's so absurd. And again, it's like if somebody calls me a Zionist and they say it as an insult, I'm like, no, it's not an insult. It is it's a truth, and it's something that I find very great that I'm a Zionist. So
Well, because I still look at Zionist as because you can twist every single word into a definition of a negative or a positive. So in my mind, a Zionist still is, the definition is wanting the belief that Israel should be held as a Jewish state and be accepted and
exist.
exists as a Jewish state. But the people that see it as a negative, is Zionist means if Israel is a Jewish state, that means that you are eliminating so many other people's existence and colonizing all these other people and occupying so many other people's lands, which means that you are accepting the destruction of so many other people's. It turns it into like a negative, such a negative connotation.
Right.
But that's, truthfully, it's just a play on words. It's a horrible play on words, because that means to be an American means you're a destroyer of so many other people.
Well, some of these people probably hate that they're American anyway. And
I mean, look at how many people hate being American that are American.
It's really obnoxious when you see, people who are against Israel. And this is not, I'm not talking about, radical Islam here. I'm talking about regular old white people,
Most.
Right. And just talking about how they are against Israel, and because of that, they also are against America because Western civilization is evil, and we just take over everyone's land, and we kill people, and we genocide, and we do this and do that, so we're terrible people.
Yeah.
It is beyond me of how it has gotten so popular to hate this country as well as hate Israel.
It's really strange. It's become such a trend. And I still do believe that the majority of the world is still okay. It's just the loud ones on social media that are so obnoxious and so annoying. Um, you know, there's so many ways we can go with this episode because I have so many things I want to talk about that I feel like are just overtaking my mind. I'm trying so hard. This weekend, I really stayed offline as much as possible to not get like obsessed. And, what took so much of my headspace last week was the division of the right, and I talked about that last week on the
Well,
show. Was
there was a lot last week. We had that, and we had the election in New York. So, and
Well,
there's
yeah,
been
I mean, it was Zohran and
yeah,
that, which obviously he won, and oh my gosh, yeah, we talked before the election, right?
yeah. We talked on Monday, so
Yeah.
definitely
So
important.
let's do this. First of all, the election. So the election happened on Tuesday. I will say I'm not surprised he won,
No, I don't
but
think anyone is.
but there's so many things that have happened. Number one, he didn't sweep, which is really, really impressive for a highly, highly democratic city like New York City.
Mm-hmm.
Like, for a place like New York City to not strongly elect a Democratic leader is very telling that it was a highly divided election. I mean, and it was a really, really popular vote. In terms of numbers, so many people came out to vote, and he won by 8 points.
Yeah, he won by
And
8.
Sliwa, of course, was the dividing factor.
He
But
had 8%.
yeah,
Now, whether
and
that 8% would have went to Cuomo or would have nobody, they wouldn't have voted. Who knows? But yeah, it definitely affected the results, and it could have been at the very least a closer gap.
yeah, I mean,
Besides,
who knows exactly? Who knows? And also, I think it's such an unknown factor because if Sliwa would have dropped out like a month before, 2 weeks before, 3 weeks before, you don't know if that would have
right?
meant maybe more people would have jumped in to vote because they would have thought, oh, maybe Cuomo has more of a chance now, or you don't know. But either way, it was such a tight race
Mm-hmm.
in
Mm-hmm.
what I thought would have been way more divide, like way more of a discrepancy.
Yeah. I mean,
So
I think because you still have a generation of people, older people, who look at Zoran's uh, politics, forgetting the fact. Let's forget the fact that he's Muslim just for a second, right?
mhm,
They don't like the politics, the idea of
socialism.
socialism and the different programs that he wants to bring to New York. That's very off-putting, and it's a generation. Again, we have a lot of people who vote in this country who are older. I mean, it's always been that way, where older people are voting more than a younger generation. So to me, it made sense at least that that group of people, older group of people who kind of lived through seeing what communism was in other countries and the negative impact it was, they probably came out to vote, and they didn't want somebody, even if they were Democrats, didn't want somebody who was going to have that type of agenda and bring that to New York. So, I mean, I guess that sort of, you know, plays into it. And I think, again, like the fact that Zoran is Muslim, and I'm not saying this is necessarily a good thing or a bad thing, but the fact that 9/11 happened in New York and people still have this connotation with, and you see it always on social media at this point, where it's like, oh, I guess we've, like, the whole thing was never forget when we talk
Mm-hmm.
about 9/11,
Mm-hmm.
and there was all these memes saying, I guess we forgot. So basically the idea of that people voted for Cuomo because they didn't want a Muslim running New York. So I think there was a lot of different things that played into what ate into Zoran's percentage win. But overall, still, he had such a great campaign. He did such an amazing job at what he needed to do to get elected. And it'll be interesting to see in the next few months what he can actually do as mayor of New York, and what he can actually pull off. Now, whether he pulls off what he wants to do or not, it'll be, well, whether he pulls it off, which I don't think he will. I think there's going to be a lot of issues with everything that he's tried to promise. So it'll be interesting.
Well, yeah, I think the policies that he's trying to run on are going to be impossible. Most of them are going to be impossible to follow through on. And that's the least, I think, of the concerns. I think the higher end of the concerns are going to be if, God forbid, he actually does major, major damage to what I think the biggest concern is assimilating to what, not assimilating, but, following in the footsteps of what, for example, is happening in London, like that kind of stuff. There's so many things that I think I want to talk about really quick about this, is that there's two truths when it comes to this election. I have a hard time with the whole, we did talk about last week. I think we talked about it because I've spoken to so many different people. So I'm pretty sure we talked about how there is this whole, like, we live on two different planets of people that are on the algorithm of he's anti-Semitic, and then people that don't see that at all, right? We've talked about that.
We talked about that last week.
So there was this one video that I saw of this one guy who's very anti-Trump, and he's very pro-Israel. So he's a super, super Zionist. I believe he's, like, obviously liberal, gay, Jewish, Zionist guy. Never saw him before, but his video showed up in my feed. And he said, and just stop me if I've said this to you, but I don't think I said this to you because I feel like it happened in just the last couple of days. But he said that when Trump was elected, he felt like every single person that voted for Trump was doing it because they were like doing it as a slap in the face to gay people, to women, to, women's rights, or anything that he felt like Trump was running on.
Right.
Which in his mind, people that voted for Trump don't feel that way. A lot of people voted for Trump because they liked his policies on economy or foreign policy or the border or, crime or whatever, and don't feel any way about the gay rights or about the women's rights, or still also didn't feel like he had bad policies about the gay rights, didn't think that, et cetera. But because that was his big issue, he took it so personally. And he would look at all these people that were voting for Trump, and he was like, how could you vote against me? You must not care about me. It's a family value. I mean, it's a value. It's a personal value thing. It's not about who you're voting for. It's a personal value thing. And I think a lot of Jews, myself included, looked at anyone that would vote for Zohran last week, Zohran, I can never say his name, and said, wow, you really actually don't give a shit about anti-Semitism.
Right.
You walked into that polling place and you said, I don't care about the safety of Jews. I'm voting for Mamdani. And that's actually not the case with a lot of people.
Right.
And I think we have to remember that, because it's so easy for us to get so sidetracked that we think we're the most important thing for all these people, that he was literally only talking about Jews the entire time. And it was a big part of his platform, but we're also on the algorithm that was only pulling the conversations around Jews and Israel. He was running on a lot of other things too. Yes. And so I try to remember that, because I had a conversation. I'm going to try to be vague just in case like any of her friends or she listens to this podcast. But I was having a conversation with a good friend of mine, and she's Jewish, and she goes to a local school here in Los Angeles, a local middle school, and her kid does. And it's not a Jewish school. And it's a very like, it's a private school, but it's a very like,
progressive.
Yes. And it's a very diverse. Okay. And so she goes to an event last week, and at this event, and it's literally like a DEI event, basically. It's like all the diversities come and they're all talking about their cultures, like based on food. I don't know. I don't
Okay.
know. She's trying to explain to me. And she says that one person brings up out of nowhere, like very out of pocket. I just want to share that I'm having the best week of my life because Zohran was elected. Like out of pocket brings up the election in New York City.
Okay.
And my friend, who's very Zionist, very pro-Israel, and very pro-Jewish, like I mean, very, very like protective especially because they're underrepresented at this school. There's not a lot
Right.
of people that was so offended because this was 2 days after the election. It's like it hadn't even really sunk in, and it felt so raw that she felt the need to say something later to the person.
Oh,
And she was
later.
like, well, but quietly, but still pretty upset. Like, I just want to let you know that you saying that is incredibly hurtful to me because them being elected is basically like saying, I want my people gone. He wants my people dead. Like, took it to a very high level.
Interesting.
And the girl was like, that's not what I was saying. Like, my happiness for him being elected is not about your death. Like, that's not what that is. And it got very elevated because everyone, I hate to say it, but everyone makes everything about ourselves.
Of course.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And hearing her tell the story in hindsight, I'm like, it's kind of interesting to hear it because I'm like, we don't want to be that person that's like, you voted for him, you want Jews dead. I don't
Right.
know if everyone's that bad.
No, absolutely not. No, they're
I'm
not.
not saying that he's a good guy. I'm just saying, is everyone that bad?
No, but no, they're not. They're not that bad. I think the issue, though, is when you are voting for a candidate, and let's take Cuomo for a second, right? A lot of people who were and this is again, this is just the online community, so everything is amplified 8 million times. But if you say you're voting for Cuomo, the people who are voting for Mandami on Zohran, whatever fucking name it is. People
So,
say they're voting for Zoe. They are like, oh, I can't believe you're going to vote for somebody who sexually harassed people and was this and that and this and that. So they're very much focused on that negative side of Cuomo, yet they can't look at their own candidate to see what kind of flaws they have about him. All they see with Zoe is that he is perfect. He's going to do everything that they've always wished for. He's a change to the establishment that New York has always had, but they don't take a second look into, oh, he has some flaws and he has some really red flags when it comes to people who are Jewish and people who support Israel. And the way they are able to justify that are seeing these stupid videos with Zoe and Mandy Patinkin, and videos that are similar. Whatever Jewish person that is tokenized at that very Instagram reel or
see,
TikTok.
Jewish people are good with him.
Right, and that's what happens is they see that they're like, oh, okay, so the Jews are fine with him. If Zoe can crack some fun jokes with Mandy and Mandy's wife
Or he can hug one rabbi somewhere down the line. Yeah.
right, but then you do a little bit more digging and see Mandy is a little bit different than what most Jews are like because he does not, most Jews are very upset with the whole situation in Israel in terms of how the media is portrayed, all of this stuff, and Mandy is completely on the progressive left. So I know there are negative things about Cuomo. Completely know that. But I would be willing, and I obviously don't live in New York, I live here. I would have still voted for him because I knew that the negatives of Cuomo affect me a lot less than the negatives of Zoe.
Sure. No,
Right.
1000% on your side about this. Everyone thinks about themselves, though. Like, everyone is in it for themselves.
Yeah.
And that, what's so interesting is I remember during the last election, everyone has to vote based on what is the issues that are going to affect themselves. Because that's
Mm-hmm.
the truth. And everyone's like, that's privilege. That's privilege to vote for yourself. Well, bull. I'm not voting for someone else. I'm voting for myself. Everyone gets a vote, right?
Right. Right.
Why should I vote for another minority or another person? I'm voting for myself just like they're voting for themselves. Everyone gets a
Right.
vote. So I disagree that that's privilege. Yes, we all get a privilege and we all get the chance to vote. If you're a legal 18-year-old adult,
Yes.
18 plus, like, you get a vote. This last election, presidential election, I had a very, very specific vote, and it was for the safety of Jews.
Yeah. I know.
That was all that mattered to me. In this round, less mattered to me about abortion rights, less mattered to me about anything else. Like, things could have been different 8 years ago. Things were different 8 years ago.
Yes.
Things
Much different.
hopefully will be different 8 years from now. Hopefully the safety of Jews won't be at the forefront of my mind 8 years
Right.
from now. Hopefully that will be like a far gone issue because we won't have to stress about it anymore 8 years from now. We'll be in a calmer zone, but in this year, but I'm hoping that most people just weren't like worried about the safety of Jews, except these idiotic Jews that just didn't think, like, they're just, I don't know, they're under the impression like he's just not that bad. I don't know.
But
Last
this
night
this
though,
is this is the
yeah,
problem. Sorry, real quick. This is the
yeah.
problem with politics in general and having a two-party system because we are people
Sorry, this is driving
expect.
me insane.
What are you doing? Oh, it's
It was
thing.
crooked. It was killing me.
This is the problem with the two-party system is that people are so focused on just voting for one party and not the other, right? So
Yes,
like you can look at yourself and say you voted for Democrats in your life, you voted for Republicans in your life.
yes.
I can say the same thing about my politics and about who I voted for. But the problem is there are too many people that are like I'm voting red all the way
Down the
down.
line.
I'm voting blue all the way down because blah 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 blah. But in reality, it's a vote for it's your vote. It's your vote. I'm not going to be pigeonholed into a certain party because someone says it is it's selfish and it's privilege. No, I'm going to vote for who I think is going to do the best job and who is going to help me the most, the most. And if my candidate who I vote for can help other people along the way, then fantastic. But yes, it's your vote. You can vote for who's going to help you.
And I think actually the most dangerous thing we can do is only vote red or blue, depending on who, we think we are or who we've like registered as, because there's some really, really bad seeds on both sides.
Yes.
And there's like, you can be a registered Democrat, and there's some Democrats out there that are out to like ruin the Democratic Party, and vice versa. There's some horrible Republicans. There's some Republicans out there that are truly like actually evil right now, and vice
Yes.
versa. Like, I mean, the squad on the left are scary as fuck, in my opinion. And
Mm-hmm.
then on the right, I mean, in terms of politicians, I don't know off the top of my head the actual. I'm sure there's some, but I can just think of like the commentators on the right, like the disgusting, you know, people on the right, the voices on the right.
Well, it's the voices on the right that have a lot more audience than some of the actual politicians. Like you take someone like Ted Cruz, who is definitely pro-Israel and he's definitely for the safety of Jews, but he may not have an audience or the amount of people that listen to him like a Tucker Carlson
Oh
or
my
a
God.
Candace
Yeah.
Owens. So it may not be the politicians, but these two are still rallying a red base that does not want to see Israel succeed. So no matter what, politicians or people who are very vocal on either side, they're all dangerous if they're going to be very much anti-Jew and anti-Israel.
Exactly. So, okay, so that actually reminds me, and let's like pivot into that other conversation of what happened with the right and like that craziness last week. We talked about
Yeah.
the Heritage Foundation. We talked about Tucker Carlson and everything. So, just to kind of get into that, there's been like some updates since then, and I'm so heavily invested in that story. It really gave me such a bad taste in my mouth. It really turned me off from everyone on that side. I really have never felt so politically homeless as I do
Yeah.
this year. I mean, I have waffled from like if there was a presidential election right now, I mean it really would come down to who the candidate is because I pray to God someone like a Richie Torres runs for president. Like I'm obsessed with Richie Torres, someone like a Democrat with high pro-Israel values,
Yeah.
someone like that, or a Republican that is not super
Yeah.
conservative, that
Moderate.
is but also pro. I just need
Yes.
someone. But the problem is, what scares me is that it's these extremists that are so fucking scary to me on both sides. Anyway, so
Well, hold on. So that
yeah.
brings up that brings up a point because now we're talking about there's no as far as we can tell there's no real politician on the right who is anti-Israel who's really kind of focusing on that except for like the wacky ones like
Marjorie Taylor Greene,
Taylor Greene, right? Exactly. But
who
what
now the
happens?
left is like so excited about.
But this is what happens is that you have like the whole Zohran thing was so. I mean, it was the perfect time for that candidate, right? They had so much anti-Israel, so much anti-Semitism that was accepted in the far left that he kind of rose to the ranks and became very popular. So now, when you have someone like Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens who is spewing a different version of the same hate, there could be a politician that we've never heard of that starts rising the ranks and becomes a representative on the right that would be like a mirror image of what Zoe is, but from a different side.
Yeah.
That's where we can get scared. Because even though there's, like I said, there's no politician that we can think of, there could be somebody who is going to capture the hearts and minds of the anti-Semitic right people that are big followers of Tucker and Candace
And
and
Nick.
rise to the ranks.
Yeah. Yeah,
So nothing's good.
absolutely. I mean, JD Vance, you would hope, has a good head on his shoulders because he's under Donald Trump and he's aligned with a lot of those kinds of people who are very pro Israel, but also, like I think I said it last week, that he's best friends with Tucker Carlson. Like he and Tucker are besties. And you would think that if you're aligning yourself with someone who, truly hates Israel, most likely you're gonna also feel the same way. I don't
Yeah.
think JD has that same true Zionist side. I think JD is just kind of like jumping on it right now for the sake of, being on Donald Trump's team. Donald Trump really is. I know a lot of people like to say that he's an anti-Semitic. I do not think he is in any way. I think Donald Trump truly is a Zionist and actually is a fan of Israel, especially because his daughter is a Jew and is married to a Jew and his grandkids are Jewish. And I really think in my heart that, the rhetoric around Donald Trump being anti-Semitic is just that. It's just like another hate campaign against him. But I really think my gut feeling about Donald Trump is that he does want the best for Israel, even if he goes about things sometimes fucked up. But
Well,
these
my
other,
feeling on that, although sorry,
yeah,
my feeling on that is that he is not a Zionist, but also
okay,
that he's not an anti-Semite. I honestly think he doesn't care either way. He's not
okay,
like pushing it either way. I think Donald Trump, for good or for bad, he does what's good for Donald Trump, and he does what's good
okay.
for the party. So if being good for the party and being good for Donald Trump means supporting Israel and supporting Jews, then that's awesome and that's great. But I think if it was the other way around, where it was good for Donald Trump and good for that party to not support the Jews and not support Israel, he would go that route too. He's now a politician. I mean, that's just the way it is.
Well, then I'll tell you something. Then he'll switch because right now the popular thing is to not support Israel.
So we'll see what happens. I
So
mean,
we'll see
right
what
now
happens.
it's a
That's a
hot
very
topic.
that's a very, very telling move. If Donald Trump changes his support against Israel in the next, he's only a year in the next 3 years.
Right, in the 4 years. Right. But that also depends on if this rhetoric continues and still is popular.
What's going to stop it?
Listen, can I try to be a little bit positive on this podcast for once?
No, you're the negative one.
I know, I'm trying.
Well, we have to switch, like one episode every episode. But anyway, I do think that I don't believe that Donald Trump will switch his position. His son is Jared Kushner, his son-in-law, sorry. His daughter is a Jew. She's a Jewish woman.
Yeah. Yes.
He's not going to switch his position. Listen,
I hope you're right. I hope you're right. And I'm not saying you aren't right. I'm just saying I always will, with Donald Trump, always take a step back and say, listen, not everything is what it seems. We'll see what happens.
I agree with you on that.
And you don't know what his type of rhetoric or things he says online or does is going to, whatever he does is going to be completely off the wall. And you see all the shit he writes. I mean, the dude apparently wants to have the Washington Commanders Stadium named after him. That was a big story this weekend in sports, was that he is now pushing that the football team names a stadium after him. This is bizarre behavior, and whether it happens or not is just bizarre. So when I see stories like that,
I didn't see that. I'm not on the sports. Right. I'm not on the sports world.
Even I got an ESPN push notification about it, so it was like definitely a thing this week.
He actually said it like in a serious way.
I don't know exactly how. I think it was like kind of, who knows? And then he was at the Commanders game this weekend, which I think kind of added more fuel to that fire. But I think it's funny because it's Donald Trump doing what Donald Trump does. But that's what I'm saying. It's like when I get what you're saying, but for me, it's like I can't put 100% trust into something with Donald Trump ever because of just who Donald Trump is. I get that. But okay, I get it.
I actually fully get that. I think that, I think it's, he's definitely not a complete, like, for sure bet, but he absolutely makes me feel safer in terms of support for Israel than a lot of other leadership positions right now. There's a lot of other people that worry me way more than him. Yep. If that makes sense.
That's fair.
So in the meantime, we have the, okay. I don't even know how we got into Donald Trump and Zionism. But the point is, and it's interesting to have these conversations because we'll see as time goes on, because Donald Trump is losing popularity by supporting Israel. So if you're really concerned about him caring about his popularity, that would be his first thing to say. I'm out.
So we'll see.
Secondly, Candace Owens, Tucker Carlson, all of that. So there's this is so interesting to me. So Tucker Carlson brings on Nick Fuentes, Heritage organization, immediately does not, kind of denounces Nick Fuentes, but does not denounce Tucker, and stands by Tucker. Kevin Roberts, the CEO of Heritage, stands by it and says, we don't cancel on this side, basically. We don't believe in cancel culture. No one's asking Tucker to get canceled. No one's asking Nick to get canceled. They're basically just saying, call it out for what it is, which is a shitty move. Do not platform a Nazi apologist, Hitler-loving, Stalin ass kisser who is really disruptive. If you're going to put him on your show, which Tucker did, and platform him, give him some hardball questions. Ask him why he's obsessed with Hitler. Ask him why he thinks women should be raped. Ask him all these things. Like, don't, basically flirt with him for 2 hours.
And have like giggle and play footsie.
Like a fucking idiot, right? So that was what people were upset with this Kevin Roberts guy about. So Kevin Roberts goes quiet for like 4 days. Then he comes back with another video. And he basically says, I heard you. And I just want to be very clear. We believe anti-Semitism is not okay. We believe that Nick is not okay. But we still stand by Tucker. Like, he basically said more of the same.
Right.
There was a meeting at the end of the week, I think. I saw it on Instagram. I don't know if you saw this video. It's about 7 minutes long, so I won't play it here. There was some sort of committee. I'm going to find it at some point and send it to you.
No, I saw it.
You saw the whole speech of the girl?
I saw I didn't get to watch all 7 minutes of it because I was doing
some of it.
Yes.
So there's a woman. Her name is Amy Swearer. She's
terrible last name. Terrible last name.
I could think of worse. She's a woman who is a lawyer, a high up board member at Heritage Foundation. Mm-hmm. She's a pretty senior legal person. If I Googled her, she is a big name, and she spoke up at this big meeting, like a whatever, I don't know what it's called, panel, whatever.
Right.
And said in such a calm, but you could tell timid speech to Kevin Roberts, and said, what in the world was that? I'm not stepping down because I love what I do, and to step down would make it would ruin the point, which is I want to see things go further, but you need to step down. What you did here was abhorrent, because this is not what we stand for. We do not stand for anti-Semitism. We do not stand for a guy like Nick Fuentes. And I can't believe that you would ever allow for that. I think Kevin Roberts is done. I can't see a future where this guy continues his job.
I don't know enough about the Heritage Foundation.
Me either. I haven't even heard of the Heritage Foundation until last week. Actually, I did, because that was the company, or that was the foundation behind Project 2025.
Yes. And I told you this last week that I've heard about it my entire life, because my dad was, there was always newsletters, there was always something coming. I don't know enough about it to see would they just have someone, force somebody out or do something like that. But I'm glad that people within the foundation are speaking up about it, and being very vocal about it, and to the point where you have this video that went online and it went viral, and people have seen that there are still a lot of Republicans that are not happy about this and not happy.
I have a little bit of moral clarity here.
Right. So it was very good to see that. I don't know if it's going to do anything. I mean, when did that happen, that meeting? Last week?
It had to have happened within the last few days, because his first conversation was basically last week, right?
Right. But so we haven't seen anything just yet in terms of his response or what the foundation is going to do. So I don't care one way or another if he stays or goes, but the dude needs to say something that basically, again, doesn't have to cancel Tucker, but basically says, listen, we got to do better as an organization. We can't platform these people. And that's what he should have done in the first place. He didn't have to cancel Tucker. It's not about canceling somebody. It's about sticking up for what you believe is right and saying, hey, we shouldn't be supporting this. Tucker should know better. And then move on from that. It could have been that easy. It's not cancel or no cancel. It just tell him that he should be doing better and he shouldn't do this. And that's it. That's all he had to do. But he didn't. And now he's an asshole.
It's really, really wild. Now, meanwhile, there is there's Megyn Kelly. So
I haven't heard anything about Megyn Kelly this week. Let's do it. Tell me.
Oh, this is so fascinating to me. Yeah. So Megyn Kelly is someone who I've always found. I was never a Megyn Kelly like person. I never really found her interesting. I mean,
I
not
found
interesting,
I
but
found her
like
very attractive.
she's beautiful.
She is very
According to Don Lemon, she looks like a trans person. How
well.
horrible!
Don Lemon has
Don
gone
Lemon
off the
needs to
deep
go
end.
away. He's
Yeah, but
horrendous.
we had Don Lemon and we had Cuomo that were both kind of ousted from CNN. And
I
one
love
person
Chris
I
Cuomo.
respect so much,
He's
and
a
the
me
other one, right? And the other one is like he was always a little
dumbass.
weird, and now he's gone completely off the deep end.
Don Lemon is everything he says is a soundbite from hell. Don Lemon. So Don Lemon, yes, a gay man on the left, a liberal gay man is
Right.
calling someone trans as an insult. Make that make sense.
It doesn't make sense. It doesn't. It
Like, can
doesn't.
you
That's
imagine
why.
someone? Can you imagine a Republican, someone on the right using that and saying that, and not like people not being so up in arms? Like, in what world is that okay for anyone to use trans as an insult about someone's
Right.
looks?
Right. So I am glad that Don Lemon is no longer a part of that organization. And I'm glad that Cuomo is now on News Nation because I feel like he can have a more
Love him.
right, and he can be more vocal than he ever was on CNN because
He has freedom to say what he
he
wants.
was
I love
probably
News
held
Nation.
back,
I
right,
love
he
News
was
Nation.
probably held back by CNN constraints and whatnot. I don't know, like I know we're veering off and we'll get back to Megyn Kelly in a sec, but like even the stuff that's going on with BBC right now, I don't know if you've
Oh,
paid attention to that story.
I'm
Like
so
they're
glad.
but like my problem with that story is they're talking about the story right now is talking about how the
January
what is it,
6th.
the CEO, you're right, the CEO is the CEO or whatever it was, the guy, the general manager of basically BBC. He was, there was a thing about January 6th, like a documentary, and they cut part of his Donald Trump's
They spliced
speech
his
to make it
speech
sound
together to make him look
right, to
violent,
make it sound
basically.
more nefarious and all that. But what they're not really talking about as well is all the stuff that people have found about the what all of the anchors needed to follow at the BBC about how to report on Gaza and Israel, and how they had to continue to make Israel the enemy and show all of these altered images, show all of these different things in Gaza to make them look like they're suffering more than they actually were. It's I just wish the story focused a little bit more on that because we are, the Jews right now need better media coverage in general.
But now that you know that the BBC lies about one thing, then you have to assume the BBC is lying about
Yes,
everything.
I
And
I
that's
know this, but
but
that
most
Don,
people
that's
should but this is what listen, the story is not about the BBC lying about January 6th. The story is that mainstream media lies about everything. And that goes for Fox News to MSNBC. It's the whole range of it.
yes. But
CNN too.
but
All of it.
when you look at headlines, when you look at this right now, it's just focusing on BBC and it's just focusing on Trump. So right now, when you look at all of those things and you look at how how social media has handled it and is taking it, and again, not in our algorithms, in others, they're not really mentioning the Gaza part. They're just
Well, of
mentioning
course
the
they're
Trump.
not.
But that's what I'm saying. That's why that's why I wish that there was more of a point about the stuff that they were reporting falsely about Israel and Palestine, because that needs to be said and that needs to be amplified. But we're just getting part of that story, and that's what most people are hearing. But you are right. It is good news that they have to take that they're basically got caught and they're basically
They're
having
the
to.
Inquirer.
Right.
They're
And that's
fake
what it is.
news.
And listen, I hope that leads to a lot of this and it leads to an audit of all of these news organizations
Yes, it's all
who
fake
need to
news.
report correctly. Anyway, sorry.
It's literal
Well,
like bots. It's like bots on news. It's
Megyn
bullshit.
Kelly. Megyn
Okay, so
Kelly.
Megyn Kelly basically, and this is, without getting so detailed because it will take forever, but Megyn Kelly has always been, the only reason I kind of got more into her is actually, strangely enough, is because of the Justin Baldoni Blake Lively story, because she was covering it. And so I kind of got into her show just when she would cover, because she covers pop culture mixed in
Right.
with entertainment. I mean, it's mixed in with news. I don't watch all her coverage about like everything that she covers, but every once in a while she'll have a story that I find fascinating and interesting. And then when Charlie Kirk died, she became part of the story because she covered his stance on Israel. And he had a conversation with her on her show, about a month before he died, where he clarified his feelings on Israel. And she played it after he died. And basically in that conversation was essentially, I am a Zionist. I always support Israel. However, it's very frustrating that people are calling me an anti-Semite. Jews are calling me an anti-Semite simply because I will question something, simply because I will say one thing. And this is what I'm saying about what I said earlier on the show, is that there's a lot of people out there in the Jewish community that are very quick to, why are you going? And we have to be careful.
Yes,
we have to be careful about not jumping to that. And so Megyn Kelly said to Charlie in that conversation, and then Megyn Kelly clarified right after that conversation to say, I get that too. Charlie got that too. And we both are Zionists. Megyn Kelly said, I love Israel. I want Israel to win. This was still during the war. I want Israel to win. I support Israel. Remember, she did say, I don't know if you remember hearing this before Israel ended the war, she was like, I think it's time for Israel to wrap it up.
Yeah.
And that got a lot of hate because people were like, that's horrible. You can't. She's right. It's a 2-year war. And that's not horrible to say. But she said, I don't support the Hamas. I don't support Islam. And that's how Charlie Kirk felt until the day he died. He supported Israel. He did not support Islam. He did not support this crazy radical shit that was coming in. And anyone that doesn't believe that is, a Candace Owens cult follower.
Of course.
Okay. Secondly, so that's where Megyn Kelly was in the Israel stuff. But she's very close to Tucker Carlson.
Okay.
So since Charlie Kirk has died, there's been this whole divide. And people are asking her about her feelings on, Candace Owens, for example. And she plays dumb. She's always like, oh, is Candace saying that? I don't really know. Candace can say whatever she wants. She's not close with Candace, by the way. She doesn't know Candace at all. She was very close to Charlie Kirk. And she's letting Candace, attack not only the Jews, Israel, but also Charlie Kirk and his whole legacy. And she's like, oh, he's saying that? Oh, I don't know. Now, she's on tour right now, Megyn Kelly.
Oh.
She's on this live tour. She had Tucker Carlson on her show last week, live.
Sorry.
She has him on her show. It was probably all pre-planned before the Nick Fuentes interview. Of course it was. He comes on her show. She's chatting with him. La, la, la. I mean, they've been friends for years and years. And she told everyone on her show a week or two ago, she's like, don't try to get me to cancel Tucker or not be his friend. It ain't happening. I will be his friend no matter what. The more you get me to try not to be his friend, the more I'm going to be his friend. She's like a little kid about that.
Yes, okay.
So she has Tucker on her show. She's not being tough on him. She doesn't care. She's like, whatever. Then the next day she has Ben Shapiro on her show. She's also friendly with Ben.
Mm-hmm.
And Ben's on her show, and fucking thank God for Ben Shapiro, who he used to drive me crazy. But now...
His voice, he has the worst voice in podcasts.
I really wish he didn't have such an annoying voice.
A terrible voice.
But now that, we're where we are in our lives, I'm so grateful for someone with his brain.
Right. Right.
But yeah, he's a little annoying. But he's like, I will never, ever be on the same side as Nick Fuentes. I will never be able to accept a Nick Fuentes as, just another voice in my region. No, he's not me. I'm not him. And I denounce a Nick Fuentes on my political party. I don't want to be that guy. And I denounce a Tucker for hosting a Nick Fuentes. He hosted Ted Cruz on his show, and he basically punched him down for 2 hours.
Hammered him.
I didn't watch it. You did?
I didn't watch. No, but I read that he hammered him. Meanwhile, he's making out with Fuentes. So it's where are we at right now?
That's what Ben said. So Ben says, don't tell me Tucker's not capable of being tough on an interview. He chose to have Nick Fuentes on his show, and he chose to talk about him nicely. He said, listen, Tucker and I connected at Charlie Kirk's funeral. We texted. We said, let's connect and let's fight the left together. The goal for us together has always been to further the conservative party and to fight. We decided after Charlie Kirk's death, we decided, let's connect and let's fight the DSA, the Democratic Socialist Movement. Zohran.
Yes.
Right? So this is September, mid-September. And Tucker goes, all right, let's figure it out. Let's figure out how we do this out. So Ben and Tucker are now talking mid-September about let's connect. Two huge political commentators on the right side, one anti-Israel, one pro-Israel. That would have been so big to fight Zohran Mamdani. Ben says he reached out to him a bunch of times. Tucker just left him on red. So Ben continued to do his show. Since then, Ben said he did like 9 shows on the dangers of the DSA and Zoe. He said since then, Tucker mentioned Zohran on his show one time. One time, and it was in a positive way.
Oh, really? What did he say? Do we know?
Just like a very, like, how he's running a good campaign. And then he said, Ben said, and then today, this was on Thursday, today, Tucker, in his newsletter, sends out a newsletter, and it talks about Zohran, and it says, and he goes, I'll read it to you. It says, Zohran is not an anti-Semite. Tucker says, him being anti-Israel is not him being anti-Semitic. So Ben goes, there's a clear divide here. Tucker is no longer fighting for the conservative party. He's clearly fighting a different fight than we are, and something is going on.
Yeah. But you have to ask the question why. Like, why?
What's going on?
Forget the fact of, like, let's say you disagree with Israel, and it's same with Candace, right? You disagree with
They're all
Israel,
the same, yeah.
and that's it. But why focus on it so much? Like, why are you so obsessed with it? Is what the question. And this is what I don't understand. It's like for us, me and you being Jewish, it's constantly on our mind because we're Jewish and we worry about our safety and we worry about Israel's safety
and our kids.
Right. And this is constantly on our minds. But for somebody like Candace or Tucker, why? Why is it something that makes that much of a difference to them? It is very weird to me that
it's
they
so weird to me too.
That makes it such of their personality. And I can put on my tinfoil hat for a moment, but always my brain is like, they're probably being funded by Qatar. Like,
that's what I think too.
It always goes that way. Is that Qatar
pushing that message?
They're not dumb. These. I mean, this is what they did. We saw the October 8th movie. They've been doing it for decades, and they've been doing it focusing on the left. But now they see a crack on the right that maybe we can start talking to the right side to see if we can, come up with talking points and people to focus on anti-Israel sentiment. So, again, I don't know if it's true, and it's literally my brain just going into, I don't understand why they're just obsessed with it. There must be a reason. And my brain, again, is like, I wonder if they're just getting paid to do it. I don't know.
I think, Dave Smith, who's also one of those big, talking heads, and he's, all up in that corner of the internet. He did this whole long tweet about, the reason Zohran won is purely because Americans are sick of Israel. And everyone was like, you really think that is the reason that New Yorkers voted for a mayor is because of Israel? Like, get your head out of your ass. Most of Americans don't give a shit about Israel.
Right. And it's
this obsession.
He voted people voted for him because they liked his policies, and he was a Democrat, and this and that, and this, and
He's
it's
the
New
mayor of
York.
New York. It's not Israel. We're not talking about, he's not like the ambassador to Israel. Like, this is weird, the obsession with Israel. Now, I really think, I saw a tweet this morning, and we can continue this next week.
Okay.
But I saw a tweet this morning from like a big conservative name. And Ben Shapiro actually talked about this on Megyn Kelly, which I thought it was kind of interesting too. What about the thought of completely cutting off Israel and U.S. ties financially? The idea of cutting off U.S. aid to Israel and cutting off the need of Israel having to spend money in the U.S. You know, that whole like reciprocal relationship financially. Yeah. And I never realized this, but if U.S. stopped having to fund Israel or giving aid to Israel and letting Israel just become its sovereign nation and doing everything on its own by its own accord and just choosing to do everything by its own and never feeling the need to have to like come to the U.S. for questions or for approval or any of that shit, I think that would solve in this time right now a shit ton of the anxiety and the stress that a lot of Americans are feeling. Like, why are we giving so much to Israel?
See, I wonder if that's true, because when you have somebody like Netanyahu, who probably wants to not have this relationship with Trump, but knows that it's definitely something that he needs because the money that comes from the U.S. If he doesn't have that, how is he going to react to the rest of the Middle East? What is he going to do? And he can go off and do whatever the hell he wants at that point. And I don't know if that's going to be good for the region. I think, honestly, the relationship between the U.S. and Israel is so important because of the stability of that region.
Now, you think that without the relationship between the U.S. and Israel, he would be like a psycho?
Yes.
Lost cause? You think he wouldn't give a flying fuck?
I mean, he would probably have, somewhat of a flying fuck, but I feel like he would do a lot more damage in that region. Now, I'm just saying that doesn't mean that if there was a different prime minister there, if there was somebody else besides Netanyahu, if somebody else was in that position,
when's the next election?
I don't know, to be honest with you. But if there was somebody else there, then you could be that could be a different question. But I think at this very moment with Netanyahu, I don't want that relationship to be severed. I really don't, because I don't trust him right now in terms of being able to act by himself and not have to answer to anybody. It just that would scare me, to be honest. So
it's interesting.
We can continue.
Interesting. All right. Well, let's continue next week about this. After post bar mitzvah, I'll be much more relaxed, and we can just talk about Israel-U.S. relations. Like
I'm hoping to still be hungover on Monday. If we record next Monday, and I hope to still be hungover from your party.
Oh my god! Oh my god! You better be dancing.
Yeah, I always dance when I go to these things. Don't worry.
Okay, good. We'll have so much fun.
Yes.
Take pictures for me.
I will.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for subscribing and liking the podcast and everything, and letting people know, and sending DMs and following on Instagram at Just You and Me,
and TikTok. We're getting a lot of likes and follows on there now. So
that's fun, and not just haters.
We do get haters, but it's been a lot better. I think we're heading into a better algorithm right now, which is good.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
We should be commenting on some of the good people on TikTok too, and then maybe they'll see.
That's what I'm starting to do that. So we're getting there. Yes.
Good. All right. Well, you guys, thank you so much, and we'll see you next week.
All right.
Bye.
So excited for the bar mitzvah.
So excited. Okay, bye.
Bye.